For the roll call, I will call the roll. Glenn? Hasn't signed in yet. How about David?
He's yes.
Stuart?
Yep.
Bernie's here. Pat's not here. Jerry? Jerry's here. Dominic's here. Tom? Nope. And Jody's here.
Yes.
Okay. The purpose of our meeting, of course, is to update us on what the new proposal is for FY21 for both the municipal side as well as the school side. And I believe you've all received emails which indicates Claire has the intent of hearing only the moneyed articles per the request of the selectmen to expedite the meeting for one. So we'll have a minimal amount of time present. And the other articles, they're not regarding any money, so that we'll put them off, or the selectmen will have a choice. They probably will have to be reapplied as once the town meeting is adjourned or dismissed, all the articles that have not been addressed go away and they must be resubmitted. So the purpose initially here is to update for the school department, which we know has gone through an awful lot. And before you start though, Kim, I'd like to comment your staff on the last school committee meeting. I mean, they were gave an explanation of what they were doing, and they were, I'll use the phrase, giddy with the success that they were experiencing. And they were actually sounded like they were enjoying what they were doing.
Yes, we're very fortunate, so thank you. Everybody's pitched in and they just continue to, they're troopers.
Oh, indeed. And it's just amazing. It was almost turning on a dime, and they had a whole different process of education going on.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Now, and of course, I'll turn the meeting over to you to give us an update on what you have projecting for FY21.
Sure. Thank you. After working with the town manager, we're working to come in with a level budget for this year. We've been looking through the various lines to see what we can reduce. We've invited our unions back to the table to have discussions. All of them, but Unit A, have existing contracts, and we're still in negotiations with Unit A. So we're working through that right now. When you look at the major account lines that I provided you, you will see some increases in some areas and decreases in other areas. The areas that are increased are generally the fixed costs that we have no control over, such as utilities and maintenance of equipment, etc. So when we would have liked to have brought this in at level also, but due to the charges that we have, it's simply not possible. One of the areas that we're a little concerned with next year is the fact that we need to be prepared to clean on a minute's notice. And it's pretty costly when we get into that point. So we've tried to put a little bit of extra money into our supplies and material lines. You know, other than that, we continue to work. We're going to be meeting as a school committee to review the budget. As you know, we'll need to do a vote. I've been meeting with my budget subcommittee and they're present today. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Anyone have any questions? Kim, as I looked at the report that you provided us in the administration, and in fact, in most of the departments, the estimated cost you presented on the FY21 column, that is column in total is lacking labor costs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because an example, the administration, the difference between, well, the 164,000 you project, there's 14 million missing. with respect to what the original request was. So that is primarily all labor costs.
Yes, yes. We're having discussions with our unions to bring us in where we need to be.
That's all your units?
Yes.
Now, again, nothing that is required, that is involved in here applies to the food services. You're still anticipating that be covered entirely by grants as usual?
Yes, we are. In fact, we've received notice from the Department of Education that we're going to be continuing the COVID meals through the end of August. I think August 14th will be our last day that we will be providing meals, and that will give us a 2-week window to get ready to go back, to get ready to return to school. Even though we don't know what that's going to look like yet, we're still waiting for direction from DESE. With that being said, though, we do know that the costs are all covered, and we anticipate maybe a slight cushion at the end, which we will simply just reinvest in the cafeteria equipment and supplies.
And that's rather typical.
Yeah. We've been pretty fortunate because of being a 100% free income food for all our students. We get reimbursed at a higher rate. So we've been able to replace some aging equipment in our middle school and at our high school. And we were able to air condition the middle school last year, as you know, and that was done through our funds with our food service at no cost to the LEA.
Okay, back to your general staffing. Do you anticipate any significant reductions?
Yes, I do. Even when we were at our initial budget, we were going to be making some reductions. Getting us to the budget that we need to be at, there'll be additional reductions. We have some retirements that will not be replaced. I think when all is said and done, we'll be approaching probably about 15 to 20 positions.
How will that affect your student-teacher ratio?
At the elementaries, we'll still be, at Deacon's, we'll be in the 20s to 24 range. At Minot, we'll be in the 24 to 26 range. At the middle school, we'll creep up to 25 to 27. And given at the high school, it will just really depend on the class, the course, of course, to see how many students need to enroll. It is a little concerning because we have so many great things that are going on in our buildings. They'll continue, but with less staff.
On the high school level, do you anticipate discontinuing a lot of courses?
No, we do anticipate there may be study halls now. We've had the luxury of not having study halls for a number of years, but given the number of cuts that may occur, it's likely we'll go back to the study halls. We'll keep the Bridgewater State connection. We also anticipate keeping the IB program and AP program for students.
Would there be any savings if you considered a hybrid? That is to say, some at home and some in class?
Right. We're working on some different models right now. We have a couple of committees going to look at how to deliver education. Before I got on, I just saw that the Boston Marathon was canceled, and that's kind of an indicator that we might not be back in a normal setting when school starts. And with that said, we know that we need to continue to deliver services. So we're looking at different kinds of configuration. For our older kids, the virtual and the works a little bit better than our younger students, but we really need to get our younger students back in one-to-one with the teachers, face-to-face, just because the literacy skills, it's just so important to build. And doing literacy skills with our younger students online is very difficult.
Are there any other questions? David?
Yes, there are a couple of line items, Kim, I'd like to ask you about.
Sure.
And under instructional materials, you had a large increase in instructional equipment. You had about a $65,000 increase in that.
Mhm.
And textbooks and related software, that percentage-wise went up fairly large, but it was about a $15,000 increase in that.
Yes. Well, with the instructional equipment, with the copiers lease, as you know, last year we had a little bit of problems with our budget and making sure things were in the right place. In this area, there was not enough money assigned in the contract, in the copier leases, so we've moved that and corrected that. We've righted that. We also, in the textbooks, there's some textbooks that we really do need to replace that are very old. Whenever we buy textbooks now, though, they have to have the online component. That's vital to us. And that's just reflects the cost. Some of it would have been, given our situation, we do not anticipate free cash being available. And in the past, those items could have been taken out and bought as a one-time purchase.
All right. And then you had on the second page, let's see, line item 87 and line item 91, district extracurricular went from 673 to 72,000.
Yes. I can speak to that. That is for our extracurricular activities, our coaches, the stipends that teachers get for running after school activities or before school activities. It was not budgeted properly last year, so we made sure that we had it in place this year.
All right. And then your substitutes went up by 80,000.
Yes. Again, last year, what we found is the substitute lines were zeroed out, and that certainly has been a dilemma for us this year. So we looked at the number of days and assigned a number that would cover what we anticipate needing.
So the 39.6 was less than it had been in previous years?
You mean for last year?
For last year.
Yes, no, it was not nearly enough. Yes, it was much less.
And so the 119.9 or 120 virtually that you're projecting for next year is more in line with what you've done in the past.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jody, did you have a question?
I do. Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Well,
I heard properly at the school committee meeting the other night, you didn't feel the discussions were going the way you were hoping for. Do you think you're going to have some kind of resolution by town meeting?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that about the unions.
The union discussions you're having weren't going quite the way it was said at the school committee meeting, this past school committee meeting. Do you think you'll have some kind of resolution by town meeting?
Yes, I'll have a resolution one way or the other. Our budget will be to where it needs to be.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? It's an unusual wave, Glenn, but if you want to talk. Glenn, you're muted. There you go.
Now unmuted. The host had muted me. Okay, I understand how that works. I didn't have a question. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking with work, but I did have a comment for just simply to say Dr. Shaverhood, that I think I'm the only member on the board with a kid still in school right now, and I just want to say I think that your team has just done a remarkable job. My son is in the 9th grade, and while it has been challenging for us, I so appreciate everything that the teaching staff and everybody that works with you has done to transition us through this time. It's greatly appreciated on my end as a parent.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions? Go, Jody.
Just a comment, kind of the same note. I was out in the store this afternoon and there was a young lady in there that went to the middle school. I said, "Oh, do you go to Wareham?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, how's the online schooling going?" She says she loved it. It's great. She's getting a lot out of it. It was a day at work with mom type thing, you know, but was very positive about the whole experience, which was nice to hear.
Thank you.
That's from a kid.
Well, you know, I'm just so fortunate because everybody has just pitched in, and you wouldn't know that we're in this situation. They haven't missed a beat. And so I give kudos to our staff.
I would suggest everybody take a read for an article on the front page of the Boston Globe this morning. And they were commenting on the various proposals that they're considering from Department of Education, as Kim has referred to earlier, waiting for how they are going to go back to school and what the requirements are going to be. And it was very dismal reading. The imposition on any department's budget would be horrendous, up to including transportation, having a social distance. Imagine putting what you currently do, 60 kids on a bus, and now you have to have social distancing. You're carrying about a third of your personnel, which means you almost have to double your fleet to get everybody to school with social distancing, and that's just a busing. It's a horrible read, but I suggest everybody take a look at it, and you'll know it's disgusting and how they might implement it in a school system that under current guidelines. Hopefully we won't have to do that.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Kim?
No, I just appreciate your support and help. And also the town manager, you know, he's been very supportive and a wonderful person to work with. And I appreciate the help that he's given us through this.
One of the things, Kim, I realized, have you changed in the busing? Have you changed the perimeter in which you'll pick up children? One was a mile, and I've heard discussion of 2 miles.
Yes, we're having those discussions with the school committee, and of course it will be a vote. And that certainly is one of the items that we're exploring. We know that any money we save will be put back in saving our staff. And that's our priority, is to keep staff in front of students.
Any other questions of Superintendent? Yes, Dominic. I think you're going to have to call me, Dominic.
I like that ring.
Bernie,
Yes.
ask Dr. Shaverhood if he feels that with the new territory ahead, is the budget realistic?
Dominic is asking, is the budget you have realistic for what you're trying to deliver?
No, it's what we have to live within, and we understand that. Sorry, Derek, but that's where we're at with everyone. I'm sure if you'd ask Derek the question, he would say no as well. But it is what it is, and so we're trying to do the very best we can. Could we certainly use more? Yes, absolutely. Services are going to be lost. We're going to be doing more with less. And with the possibility of the social distancing, the PPEs that we may be required to provide to our students and staff, I am very concerned.
It's very difficult in listening to that is we were beginning to make significant inroads on both sides of the house on moving forward. And through no fault of our own with this coronavirus, it's put us backwards. And I do hope recovery is not going to be as difficult as it was to get to where we are to begin with. But everyone is to be commended, all our employees. There's, I don't think there's an exception anywhere that you can mention. Everybody's done their part.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I think, well, and I just wanted to say, I think that's part of it. It's collaboration and teamwork. And that's how it has to be, because we're all in it together and we need to see it through together.
Very good. Is there any other questions? There being none, thank you very much, Kim.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our update from Mr. Sullivan, the Town Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am unmuted. Good. Before we start, a couple things, and I do. Well, we've got Dr. Shaver-Hood on the line. Thank her very much for her work and collaboration. And I think what I'm going to share some good news that ties in with this. It was as I was speaking as selectmen. We had our bond rating reaffirmed at AA+. Obviously, we were very concerned about it going down, but part of what they referenced was the management and the relationship between the school and the town, and that's what sets good foundation. So I really appreciate Dr. Shaver-Hood and all she's doing, and what that equates to, so people understand, is we got the bid results on the $13+ million bonds, which we had anticipated about 3.75%. And the net rate is 1.754%.
Wow.
There's going to be some real savings to the taxpayers on that. So, I appreciate everything Dr. Shaver-Hood's done, our department heads, the finance committee, selectmen, and obviously the school committee for helping out and being all part of a team, because that's what it's showing. So thank you. And then that's the problem, right? We're talking about some of the good things and how much we appreciate our employees, and we're going to be asking them to take cuts when it comes down to it. And that's that's where we go into my fun update. Mr. Chairman, I forwarded you, and I understand it was very late, what I called an actual cheat sheet. I don't think you had enough time to get out to the rest of the members, so I apologize for that. Were you able to get that out, Bernie?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I don't know if
Thank you for speaking initially. I did, yes.
Okay, good.
I'll hold it up in case everybody wants to read it.
So when we were going through, and this is where we've really looked at what's the finalized revenue projection until we get the state's final budget, which could be November, or as far as we know. Not much guidance. We're hearing anywhere from 10 to 20. Some people say higher. So let's just go through line by line. And new growth in the original budget, that was the balanced budget, we had 400,000. We're finalizing as reducing it by 10%, by $40,000 to 360,000. It's the Chapter 78 has me concerned, and that's one of the big ones. And I reduced it off of the $13.45 million estimate that we first saw at 10%, which brings us to a reduction of $1,410,000, and obviously a little bit of change. Charter school aid, when they're talking about aid across the board, that's a 10% reduction as well, so about a little over 24,000. General government aid, I went a little bit higher because I based it off of they were originally had closer to a 3% estimate. of an increase. So when we did it, I brought down about 12% by 269,000. The exemption, sort of a similar category of 14%, which was $20,000 plus reduction. State-owned land, 10% for 10,400. Some of these have changed since the last go round, and one of it's the local meals tax. When they allowed the takeout, we know that we're going to see a reduction in it. But overall, you'll see what we originally had budgeted, a $92,000 reduction of about 17%. The reason why I'm not going a little bit heavier on that is we did come in the previous year with about $582,000 in actual receipts. So it really comes closer to a 24% reduction overall. Local rooms and hotel, this is the one that has me concerned. So basically we deleted 2 quarters out of it, which was a $140,000 reduction. Boat excise is minimal, about $2,500. Penalties and interest, 5% reduction. It's the same. I think we're going to have some carryover of what people have already scheduled and are doing before we see the real reduction. So we should probably keep that in mind. Licenses and permits, again, if you see the licenses and permits, we sort of, I equated this to the new growth as well. So we'd expect a low reduction in our permitting. And that's a 10% reduction, so about 130,000. Smaller in the fines and forfeits. And investment income, obviously the rates have gone down. I think we're getting closer to 1%. We could be in the 0.33% range, 0.66% range now, or what we receive. Obviously on those, we're talking, it's fixed income investments. You're not doing that sort of our general fund in equities or anything like that. So the total revenue reductions of $2,233,201, or 3.17% of all those lines we went through. My recommendation is to bring in $600,000 from the stabilization fund, and I actually hate doing it. But if we bring in $600,000, we have about $3.7 million. At the 3.1 million mark, we'll still be within 5% of our operating budget. So I think that's a good move. And then, so that makes our total net revenue reduction of 1.6 million, and some change, or 2.32% of the entire budget. Is there any questions on the revenue?
Nope, I think not.
Okay. So on the second part of, if you will, essentially we went through to level fund the town government, and we're doing the last bits of that, but that'd be a $365,886 reduction, or 2.77%. Wages are going to be the largest part of that. Our wage line will be reduced by 3.34%. And expenses, well, we had some fixed costs that we cannot just simply delete. There's some others that we will reduce services on, a little over 21,000. Like the school, obviously, we are in the stages with our unions. We've had some changes in one of the unions, but I've got a couple extra meetings next week, and when it comes down to it, it's going to be an overall reduction, either through salary or layoff. So with this, just so people understand, roughly a 2% overall reduction of all our salary lines gives us about $250,000 in savings. With this, if the unions were to agree to, if you will, furloughs or freezes, we will still be deleting 4.5 FTEs, which is really, it's 1, 2, 3, closer to six positions well, almost 7 positions because some of them are part-timers. That is if everybody agrees to the freezes or furloughs. If they don't, obviously that number will be higher. So getting to the school budget, that's where we've requested the level funding. So that's off of what was the balanced budget would be an $800,879 reduction or 2.65%. And what I think everybody that's listening, we all probably know, yourselves, the school committee, Dr. Shaver Hood, myself, these reductions we're talking about, the 800,365, were already from previous reductions. That there was higher requests in the beginning. So it is the a death by 1,000 cuts, if you will. So the next lines, if you remember from debt and the long-term interest, we were holding fast on those for future projects. We will reduce those. 105,000 for principal and long-term interest 49,000 for a total of 154,000. That's an easy one. It wouldn't make sense to hold on to those while we're asking the employees to take cuts. Workers' comp and general liability, they came in level funded, but we're also getting some of the Maya reimbursements and such. We usually use those for trainings and other such projects, but now we will just take that as a straight reduction off of their cost. So we can reduce workers' comp line by about $20,000, general liability about $25,000. Unemployment's the interesting one. It's going to seem a little nonsensical, but it will make sense in the long run. We're going to take unemployment out of the annual operating budget. The balance we have in free cash at the spring special town meeting, out of that, we have, I think we've got about 1.2 million or so. We will transfer $300,000 into an account, a holding account for unemployment. And then every year you'll put money in that from free cash. And eventually, as hopefully things get better, you won't need to fund that one every single year, and you'll be able to carry over a few. This is really a simple accounting trick to get 200,000 back into the budget. Medical, the dental rates were renewed at 0%. They will go up for the 2 years thereafter of 6% and 6%, but we've got some relief at the first year of 0. And we also, I had a $200,000 holdback when we used to do 150 because we came darn close to the 150 this year, but we will reduce that rate to 150,000, the holdback. So medical, you'll see close to almost a $70,000 reduction. So total from the benefits, almost 315,000. Total reductions, 1.635. You'll notice on the sheets, I'm carrying a $2,500 discrepancy between the two, and I just have to do a line item check within the overall budget. Something's not carrying in the formula, so it'll be maddening but simple, I think. So that's really where we stand with the budget, and that's we'll have the finalized one coming soon. I should expect to bring more of the line item one to the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday.
Okay.
Bernie, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I found the right plug. Derek, I have a question for Derek.
Go ahead.
Derek, not to make you repeat, could you explain that unemployment, what you're doing with that again? I didn't quite grasp it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we currently fund unemployment through the annual operating budget.
Right.
So we will now take that out of the annual operating budget, use free cash to establish a separate article, if you will, that you hit unemployment against. And you'll have to, if you notice the last few years, we hadn't come anywhere really near the $200,000 mark. You'd had some years it was 75, some years were a little higher or lower. But you start establishing that, and then as you move forward, you're basically creating this article that is a holding fund that you hit off against it every year. So it's not really a savings, but it's a different way of funding it.
And that'll add 200,000 to the operating budget this year?
Correct. Yeah, so we take it out of the operating and move it into basically a different way of funding it.
Without any pains and sorrows in the future?
No, it looks at, I mean, it's just you reduce it by your free cash. We know we roll over free cash some every year, so you'll always have a little bit of funding towards it. You know, but this town in the past, before me, when they budgeted 100% of their local receipts and done things like that, you remember we had 1 year of negative free cash.
Right.
So, but with the sort of the leadership from everybody on this call, Board of Selectmen and such, I don't see us ever going down that path again. So.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Jerry.
This relates to education.
Jerry, your voice is breaking up.
The balanced budget for 21 to 30,231,000. I guess the question is, did you ever get down to that point before you were asked to reduce by another 800,000?
Jared, are you asking the superintendent that question?
Either. I asked the superintendent, but because I know originally you had to make cuts to get down to the 30,231,000. You were kind of in the middle of that process. The Wuhan virus came along, and then in that process, now you're asked for another 800,000. So, I guess the first question is, did you ever get down to that 30 million? And then with that cut to get to 30 million plus the 800,000, what's the total amount you're asking for?
I can answer the first part of it, and I missed the second part. But yes, we've gotten down to the original number, and we were hoping that would be enough. And then this happened, and so it's been a very difficult process to bring us to where we need to be. And I wasn't sure the second part of your question.
I was just looking for the total. Okay, the total you had to cut from your original proposed to get to the 30 million. About how much of a reduction was that?
From our initial proposal, it was about 2 million.
2 million, okay. And then on top of that 2 million, because you did get there, it's another 800,000.
Yes.
So from where you started, about 2,800,000 reduction.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, Joyce.
I just was curious. Well, first, I'd like to say, obviously, there's been a lot of hard work done, and there's going to be painful cuts on every side. But my question is about the Upper Cape budget. I know, Derek, you didn't quite get that far down. I'm just curious if anyone's been notified if there will be any reconsideration of that budget proposal.
Dominic may be able to answer it. He's our elected representative on that. Dominic?
Yeah, how you doing? Can you hear me okay, Vern?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I spoke with Roger Fugette this morning, and he says that right at the moment they have they're not going to do anything with their budget. They're going to leave it the way it is. He said that if they were going to, there wasn't enough time for meetings or anything, but he said that even if they did, the amount would be, minimal across the towns. And he said if there was any questions to it, that he would be, glad to join any meeting or commit at any time. But right at the moment, they are not going to change their budget.
Mr. Chairman, if I can,
Yes, Derek.
my concern was that Upper Cape Cod Tech with reduced state aid was going to come back and charge us more.
Sorry, Derek, I didn't hear that. I could ask that question, but I don't think I can answer that properly.
Yeah, so, well, that's why I'd called Bob Dutch before the end of, I think I don't know if he's fully retired now, and asked him if if they had a major reduction in state aid like we might be seeing, would they ask for more from the town? And the answer was no.
It's unusual the way the regional schools work in that they have to have an agreement of all 5 parties in order to do anything.
That was one of the reasons he said they didn't want to change it. It would be difficult to go to all the towns, and not enough time. But Derek's question, I don't know. I think Dr. Dutch is still on till July 1. But I've been going through Roger Paget. If you want to call and ask any questions, Derek, that's who I think you should ask for.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
I'd like to chime in if that's okay.
Yes.
To Dominic, I suppose. I'm not looking at the budget. I don't have it in front of me. But the Upper Cape budget, what percent increase is that over last year?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
What's the percent increase budget in Upper Cape from last year?
I believe it was a little over 3%, if my memory serves me right.
All right.
Derek might know more. Was it around 3.4%, Derek? Am I right?
Yeah, Dom, I'll get it real quick for you. I think they had a 20. We only had a $25,000 increase from them.
Was minimal this year, yes.
The total assessment was 3.7.
Okay, that sounds right, David. Thank you.
So let's say it's 3.7, and yet we're looking to do a level funded. Do you see the inequity there?
Oh, well, it's quite obvious, Mike. I'm certain.
I didn't hear that. What's that?
It's quite obvious, that they have not made a reduction, and here we are reducing, of course. The difficulty is the legislation that operates or controls a regional is significantly different than what we deal with normally on a day-to-day basis, just with our own operating here within a community. They can essentially sit there and decide that they want a certain amount, and if we balk at doing so and refuse to, they can literally go in and take it out of our operating from Department of Revenue.
But they is who? They is the member districts, right?
Beg your pardon?
They is who? They is the member districts, correct?
The Cape Regional District. The regional.
Yeah. So should we be in discussions with some of these member districts to be like, are you okay with this too? I'm sure they're going to be pretty tight themselves.
And that's the decision of their own board.
Dom, do you remember how many votes it takes to get kicked back to Upper Cape to redo the budget? In other words, for town meeting votes.
I believe it takes 3 towns. I could be wrong.
3 towns to disagree?
Correct. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't hold me to it, but I know there is a number. But Mike, you're talking. Do the percentage numbers wise, you're talking, minimal money. It's not going to help anyone, help anywhere. The other thing is, you got to remember, they're educating Wareham students.
I totally agree.
Less cost than you guys are. And that's not to say, and not with any disrespect. So I think you're trying to make oranges out of grapes.
I totally agree. But when we're looking at, freezes, furloughs, layoffs, at a level funded budget, and yet we're looking at almost 4% increase from our neighbor.
But that's not 4% for Wareham.
It's 0.69% for Wareham.
Right.
Oh, that's what I was asking. All right.
No, it's 3.7% total, all the districts.
Oh, all right. So how much is it for Wareham? 0.6?
1.6.
1.6?
No, 0.69. So
I'm sorry.
$0.7, $25,276.
All All right, that's a lot more palatable. That may, but the point remains, but it's a lot more palatable. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Derek, for helping me.
Yeah, no worries. No.
Are there any other questions? Concerns?
A lot of concerns.
Everybody go out and buy a lottery ticket? Being none, thank you, Derek.
Yeah, thank you. I
Anything you wanted
appreciate
to add?
it.
Anything you, Kim or Derek, anything you want to add?
No, not from my end. I appreciate it. Obviously, I know you guys are getting a lot of this last minute. Not to be flippant, but none of us want this or expect it to happen. And a lot of things are going to change. And talking to Dr. Shaver Hood, there are a lot of hurdles to come just to get open. So we're going to need all the help we can get. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, but don't go away, Derek, I think, and perhaps Kim, but anyway, on some of the articles, their money articles, the Finance Committee hasn't approved them yet or voted on them. One being Article 6, which is the FY21 capital plan. Derek, was there any capital requests in that?
The only ones that we had, Bernie, were from the water pollution control facility.
Yes, but that's a separate article.
Yeah, I think we packed it into the, didn't we pack that into the capital one?
No, I think it went into the separate article in the special.
Okay, yeah, because I'm sorry, I'm actually missing my last page of that, believe it or not. Don't worry. And then likewise with the annual town meeting, the only capital is water pollution control facility. So that's been one of the things we just cut right back on.
Yes, so they're in the annual town meeting, Article 6 for capital plan, there's nothing? Or the ones that are requesting the school buses, front end loaders, street lights, and communication repeaters?
Yeah, we're not going to be touching any capital, so.
Okay, Article 6, there's nothing in it then?
Just like I said, Bernie, I would have to double check. You're certain there's another article on there? I don't know why it's baffling me right at the moment.
There is a capital plan in the special
Yeah. So
also.
yeah, like I said, the only thing is WPCF. So
Okay. The budget itself, we don't have the detailed information as to the departments.
right. So I expect to have that for the selectmen. If you see me after I speak to some department heads about their budgets. So
Okay. Okay, for the annual, that is the only two that are missing as far as moneyed articles. We'll go on to the special. In Article 1, there is budget transfers.
yeah, the only thing we're looking for, I'm going to try and pull it up. I just had it. The only ones we had were there's some short-term interest that we're going to transfer from unemployment to. And I'll get the final numbers on those. And then there's on the Medicare portion, the 530,000 Medicare tax, we're going to have to transfer about 15,000 to bring that up to 545. Let me just, here, I've got it in front of me, excuse me. Budget transfers the following amount from general fund, unemployment, 28,130, to debt service, interest short-term debt of $6,130, and then 22,000, excuse me, to the FICA Medicare. So.
Okay. I would like them to go over these and you just give me the printout of them. I'll distribute them to the members and we'll take a vote based on the information in front of them.
Okay, perfect.
We'll be funding Article 2 is funding the parking program. I assume that's a transfer.
Then it's
Transfer some, yeah, transfer some of money from receipts reserve.
So that's a non-general fund item, comes from the receipts reserved for appropriation. We know we'll be missing revenue this year because we're starting up the program later. Probably will start it closer to mid-June when it comes down to it. Probably net out about 90 to 100,000 a year on it. And this is usually what you're seeing there, some of the costs associated with operating. It pays for some of the seasonals and stuff. Gary usually gives you a pretty good rundown of everything on it, right?
Yes. We'll talk to him. In Article 3, the Spring 2020 Capital Program.
Yeah, just that's just so this is the annual you're talking about, Bernie?
Yes, transfer sum of money authorized borrowing subject to MGL Chapter 44.
Right.
Replacement of vehicles, equipment, and repairs, but there's nothing specific.
Right, you'd only see the WPCF stuff that they have in their annual budget, so it'd be funded through their annual budget.
Okay.
1.1 million, but you would still authorize these items because they're capital. They have to have a separate authorization, not just a funding.
Okay. And then we have it's Article 3, Article 4, transferring of any available funds that would be covering the FY20 budget. I'm not sure we really need this because you have the authority based on legislation.
Yeah, so I think we can. We'll just double check, and we'll talk to Claire, just the moderator, see how we want to handle it. If it's okay to bring up, we don't think it'll cost much additional time. We can go ahead with it.
Do you have anything then?
No. The only thing that we're doing, if you see the free cash transfers, Bernie, that's the from the special. That's what we're doing with the unemployment, establishing that.
Okay. Article 5, the PEG access. I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah, and they almost in a way they lucked out. Let me just pull it up because we just got a additional payment for them. So where they've sort of always been running in arrears. This will bring them up to date. The updated figure is $422,766.22.
I have to remember not to put a dot there versus a comma. Okay.
That doesn't affect the tax rate or the town budget at all. It's just a
No.
transfer. The money that comes in, you're sending it out to them.
Correct. And we're required to transfer. Town meeting is required to take action to transfer. The next one is Article 8, which is the transfer of community preservation funds of $30,000 to the Wareham Girls Softball League. And that was decided to be left in for the discussion because although they're going to be running, I believe, a fall program, they do need the summer to maintain the fields that they've created up there. And with the purchase of the lawnmower, they need the storage unit for secure storage. And then the harbor receipts, that's the transfer of the $15,584.
That's Gary's.
That was Article 9. Article 10 is the funding request that Derek referred to earlier. The sum of $3,175,000 from WPCF retained earnings to pay the cost of 3 projects at the water pollution control facility, including the new denitrification filters, groundwater discharge evaluation, rehab of manholes, gravity main lines at Mirror Cove, which is on C Street, as well as payment of all costs incidental and related to do or act in any manner related thereto. That number is there. The funding, that's the funding. There's Article 11, which is from the school department to transfer the unused balances from previous town meeting articles of $40,930.44 to one account to be used for HVAC and building repairs. And then there's the 14, which is a solid waste recycling. That's creating a revolving account.
Correct. Yep.
Eric, where will that be funded from?
That would be from the sale of stickers and bags, trash bags, and you would put sort of a an omnibus language in there. So if they have a hazardous waste day and you charge for that or something, that those receipts can go in there. So it's basically everything trash, and it should be recycling related too. Because people are forgetting about the trash costs, which are probably $80 a ton, somewhere around there, 80, 90. Recycling costs you over $100 a ton right now.
Wow.
Where you used to get a little bit of money on it, or you get somebody take it for free because they could make some money.
Okay, and the next one, Article 15 of the union contracts. Are they still in negotiations, Derek?
Yeah, we've got one that we know is not going forward. There's 3 units right now. There's we've got the dispatchers, which are the communication officers. That's going forward, but we're also speaking to them about obviously changes and how to handle that. And the 4 persons, we're not bringing something forward as of right now. That we've been speaking to them, and I think I'm trying to figure out. Oh, the library union as well, which is 3 members, but they're obviously what we had talked about earlier hasn't been finalized. So.
Okay, and the last one is the home rule petition to issuance of a license for retail sale of alcohol at 11 Kendrick Road. That would be to allow Stone Path to be able to sell the same product that they dispense on their taps. And they need to create a new title or a new license for that, I believe. And the legislature has to give us permission to do that. And it was discussed that in the view of the fact that all our small businesses are going to be trying to recover, although this won't affect them because the time it takes the legislature to act on anything, it will help as a small business. I'm sure when I go in and get a beer, I'd like to take some home. It tastes pretty good. I'm able to do so. And that'll give them the opportunity to be able to sell small costs, packet bottles or cans, however it's packaged. And that's the last of them. I'm going through them. What I'd like to do now, if you don't have any specific questions, to vote on those that we can address. The very first one we had, there was, but we haven't got detail for the budget transfers. The fund, the parking program is transferring money from the receipts reserved for appropriation. Now, would you please stop me, anyone, if you would prefer to have the specifics, details that say the money before we vote? That's fine with me, and we can wait on that. So that could be Article 1, the budget transfers. Now, anyone can jump in if they would rather go forward with this and just say a motion to approve. and we'll continue on with that. If not, I'll just continue on to the next one until we find one that you are satisfied with. Is that agreeable with everyone? Anyone disagree? Okay, now the second one would be to fund the parking program.
That's coming out of existing funds. There's no impact on the tax. The money was collected for that reason. I just as soon vote on that.
Agreed. Motion to do it.
Recommend. Second.
The Article 2, funding the parking program, excuse me. And the motion's been made and seconded. I'll call a roll for approval, if you would, please. Glenn,
Yes.
David,
Yes,
Stuart,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Dominic,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
and I vote yes, 36700. The next one is Article 3. That would be the capital, and back in any information, we'll go on with that. The next one is the transfer of available funds, Article 4. Moving on, PEG access, Article 5.
Make a motion.
second.
We already voted on that, didn't we?
I think we voted on that.
We voted on that 600.
We did?
I believe
We
so.
did.
Yes, on the last one, I apologize. Yes, I have it marked down here. I didn't see my own notes. Next one is Article 8, which is the Westfield Girls Softball League.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. I'll call the roll. Glenn,
Yes.
David,
Yes, the money is already allocated for that.
yes, Stuart,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Dominic,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
and I also, Bernie votes yes. 700. And the Harbor Services Permit receipts reserved in the amount of $15,584.
Motion.
Second.
Motions is made and seconded. I'll call the roll. Glenn,
Yes.
David,
Yes,
Stuart,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Dominic,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
and Bernie is a yes. 700. Next one is Article 10, which is funding, WPCF funding, appropriating $3,175,000 from the WPCF return earnings to pay for the cost of the 3 projects I mentioned earlier.
Motion.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. I'll call the roll. Glenn,
Yes.
David,
yes,
Stuart,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Dominic,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
and Bernie votes yes. 700. Next one is Article 11. Transferring the unused balances from previous town meeting articles in the amount of $40,940.44 to one account to be used for the HVAC building and repairs at the high school and the middle school.
Make a motion.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. I'll call the roll. Glenn,
Yes.
David,
yes.
Stuart,
yes,
Gary,
yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Bernie's yes. 700. Next one is Article 14, which is the creation of the revolving fund for the solid waste recycling. That amounts to no monies involved. This creation of the revolving account.
Make a
Make a
motion.
motion.
A motion
second,
made, seconded. I'll call the roll. Glenn,
Yes.
David? David,
David, yes.
Stuart,
yes,
Jerry? Dominic,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Bernie votes yes, 700. The union contracts, we'll move on from that until we have more information. And the last one is Article 16, which is the home rule petition to permit issuance of license for retail sale of alcohol, 11 Kendrick Road.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
second,
It should be more money coming in, right?
Yes, hopefully in a year or two.
In a year or two.
Yeah, call the roll. Glenn,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Stuart,
yes,
Jerry,
yes,
Dominic,
Yes.
Joseph, Jody.
Yes.
And Bernie votes yes, 700. Oops, wrong one.
Bernie, question, when do we need to vote on the ones we did not vote on? What time frame?
If I can get the information, I'll have another meeting next week. Same time, same place. And we'll do the final votes. And we should have, I'm not sure, Claire, you still there? Will you be calling just the moneyed articles? Or if someone stands and asks to discuss one of the other non-money articles, will you allow it?
At this point, no, just the money articles. And actually, there is legislation being discussed today that will enforce that only money articles can be discussed and voted upon. So we're waiting until later today to see if that goes through. If that goes through, there'll be a couple of these that will have to be taken out.
Okay, so I'm concerned though that the committee of all the other articles, we haven't written our presentations or explanation as yet. And just to warn all of you, I was going to do random selections of assigning the various articles that you could write your recommendations. So I will confine this now to just the moneyed articles. So now, is there any concerns? As far as the articles we have not voted on, as soon as I have the information, I'll certainly pass it on to you. And I'll arrange, why don't we plan on next Thursday, making our final votes and presentations, and we should have most of the budget and the articles and the warrants for annual and special written and ready to go to the printer. Any questions? Yes, Jody.
The selectmen's meeting the other night, I thought there was some kind of necessity towards these gifts of land. Is that something we should maybe take up now just in case?
That would,
I mean, they seem like they want to settle estates or something going on. It really doesn't impact money, but
At this point, the selectmen have chosen to present only the moneyed articles.
Okay.
If the legislation is passed, as Claire indicates, that issue would be settled on the selectmen's level.
Yeah, Jody, thank you. I had brought that matter up, just letting them know that, so some of them are estates, but it wasn't one way or the other. I understand it. And I just wanted to be able to tell the persons what's going on.
yeah, I couldn't remember who brought it up, but thank you.
It was a really smart guy, so.
I won't even comment on that.
Rumor has it. Okey doke.
The other thing I heard, I hate to bring this up with the parking receipts, and this goes to the kiosks down at Onset. I know there's been some concerns in other towns because they're touchpads, or whether do they go ahead with them or not.
Yeah,
They're
that's-
touchscreens.
That is a great point. Maybe you're the smart one in the room.
No, I got this from another source. I really didn't think of that, but there are concerns.
We use Flowbird, which also has an app. So what we're doing by all of our kiosks in some areas, putting up little sandwich billboards that tells people how to download the app and pay from there with it to go more free. They can pay with it because it's moving more towards a pay by space rather than pay and display. So part of what's good for us as well is in the future, as we have to replace machines, it's obviously going to be a lot cheaper. So you're right. We will still have the kiosks themselves, but we will also have the ability to pay by app. And then actually every day, probably more than once, they are going to be required to be sanitized to be able to be used.
Can I give you a little helpful hint? If you get the word out, if people take a Q-tip, and you could just punch the keypad with a Q-tip and not touch it.
Or there's a stylus oftentimes in many of your Android or Apple phones.
Yeah. Or just let your kid touch it.
Yeah.
No, my wife.
Okay. Any other questions? Any concerns? Okay, I'll be harassing the town administrator for the additional information on your behalf, of course. Thank you very much, Derek. Thank you very much, Kim. Joyce, thank you also for joining us, and Claire also. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? No. Hello, Sandy. Okay. We're having too much fun. Thank you. Declare the meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.